All right. I kind of want to start off first. Do you want to start off with the shots?
Yeah.
Let's hit these shots.
Sure.
Let's hit these shots, guys.
Cheers. Gentlemen,
Yes.
It's a good show.
Cheers to balance. And
female,
Female.
feminine energy.
I wanted to start off asking, how did you meet Ville anyway? So you kind of was.
Ooh.
PG.
Do you want to check the?
Yes. Darn it.
PG.
PG.
The volume good.
Okay.
That's good for everybody.
Yeah.
So how did I meet you?
What's the first memory you remember?
Short yellow bus ass nigga.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
remember. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, wow.
So no, I what is the first memory? We were kids, like high school.
High school.
We share mutual friends that we are still friends with today,
Okay.
which is very rare, right?
True.
And I don't know, Michelle. Like,
was-
shout out to Michelle.
It was through.
And I just remember Lavelle would be at Michelle's house all the time. Eventually I was. And just, there's
I
no,
remember
like,
coming to your
amazing story.
apartment.
Really?
Like, I mean,
But,
all
like,
the amazing
no.
stories are after that.
But I remember coming
Right.
to your apartment.
Oh, yeah.
When y'all used to live on Eddington.
Yeah, Eddington and Cleveland
Eddington
Heights.
and
Yeah,
Cleveland
yeah, yeah.
Heights. And Mama
Half East
Karen.
Cleveland living, half Cleveland Heights living.
Heel niggas.
Shout out to my baby daddy. No, I'm just
Shots fired. 3 minutes into this episode. Wow. I don't want straight shots.
Yeah.
We
You
not-
know what? I got nothing else.
Memorable.
I
Memorable.
remember being on Eddington and, Mama Karen was being Mama Karen.
yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, before there was like fluidity and understanding of just being, there was Karen. Man.
Y'all should have met her.
Yeah.
Karen?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's her mom's name.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She a pistol.
Miss-
I would say she is like she's like a tattoo. Anyone who had the blessing of being in her presence, she's definitely tattooed on them.
Oh, wow.
For
Okay.
life.
I like
Yeah.
that.
She left a mark on everybody
Look,
like
come
that.
I like
through.
that. Yeah.
She really did.
Yeah.
She really, and I, yeah, 100%.
And I will be aging just like that.
Man, I'm sorry. I feel
ass.
sorry for Yosh, but whatever.
You said-
Hating
What'd you
ass
say?
nigga.
Her son, Yosh.
Hating ass nigga. Anyway, how about those Browns, Lavelle?
That's how we started. She really watches the show.
Why did she do it? She
So yeah, I knew. Let me tell you when.
So how
So
y'all
when I
niggas
was-
doing? Y'all doing good? Y'all hanging in there? I guess we got a fucking guest today.
Why was I listening to the Code Switch one, the last one you all did?
Yeah.
And definitely resonated with me because I think I speak another language, and I think even that there's code switching even within knowing other languages. And I'm just listening, and as soon as Lavelle was like, yeah, so I just want to tell y'all how I'm feeling today. And he started that shit. I said, he's about to talk about the Browns. Lo and behold, this motherfucker talking about the Browns.
Play the music.
I said, here we go.
Let's get this show started, y'all.
What's good, family? Welcome to Possibly Impaired, where we talk about what's going on in the world, what that means to us as black men in this world, and plenty of other topics that most people probably need to be a little impaired to talk about. So grab that drink, spark that shit, and consume responsibly.
All right. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Possibly Impaired.
Yeah.
I'm here as always with my brothers, Ville and Corey.
Oh,
Which
wow.
I don't even care about y'all right now, but we got a special guest here today.
Some feminine energy in the house. Is this
Y'all niggas do.
I'm sorry, I love y'all.
They're the first two, I think.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. First
First
female.
woman on the
Thank you.
show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to introduce everybody to Miss Mica Job.
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 Like the
Job.
Bible.
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay.
Miss educator,
yeah.
massage therapist,
Yeah.
mother of one.
Yeah.
Yeah, how you doing today?
I'm wonderful.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It has been such an amazing journey to just listen to what you brothers are doing. Lavelle will be definitely can attest to the fact that I love to see my brown brothers doing some really cool, awesome things. And in doing those things, not having to code switch while you're doing those things. So
Yeah.
I really love that you are just coming as is. And there are a couple episodes that were just really, really naked. I think the mental health one was like super naked. So I appreciate that. And I'm humbled to be in your presence.
No, we're humble.
We're
yeah.
humbled. Thank
For sure,
you.
for sure.
Like for real, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
for
thank you.
coming.
For sure.
Yeah, the reason I wanted you here was because Vel told me that you're a massage therapist and you are into Reiki.
Yeah.
Reiki.
Yeah,
That's something over the last, I would say, like 2 months that I've been really interested in.
Nice.
And I don't know anything about it yet, but it just seems like the concept of it seems amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, I've always been a person that like believed in like energies and stuff, and I see that that's what the concept of it kind of is. Well, you'll tell me more about it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask. I just wanted you to inform our people about what Reiki is. I want to bring it to our culture. I think it's needed in our culture.
Yeah. So I'll kind of backtrack, and it's interesting that you said massage therapist, and I just recently kind of let go of that. That ending. So really, massage practitioner, because when I think you're a practitioner, you're constantly practicing.
Okay.
And I think the word therapist can be full. It can be really full and daunting sometimes. And if you break down the word, the and then the end of it. So I didn't want to say, right? And most people don't look at it like that, right? Right. So one day, I swear, I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, I'm a massage therapist. I'm a massage I'm going to let that shit go. We about to go back to practitioner. So massage practitioner. But I think energy, yes. So I'm going to go back to what you said. We are energy producing beings, right? So when we think about chemistry, just on a very basic level, you have these electrons that are running around these atoms and so on and so forth. We're heat producing beings. We are connection or disconnection producing beings, right? Like we do all of that, and we kind of ebb and flow and step in and out of these spaces. It's kind of like you go in someone's home, you just immediately feel so comfortable. And then you go in other people's homes, and that first home could have been like messy and maybe not necessarily the cleanest, although I'm not always so comfortable in unclean homes, dirty homes. But you could feel really comfortable and at peace in that home, and then go into somebody's home that has like the perfect house. It's just so beautiful. And there's just like this, there's like this stank on it. And you're like, what is that? They haven't done anything to you. You don't know any of their dirty laundry. And I think that's what energy is. It's like, it's a force that not only connects us to our higher sense of self, the highest sense of self, the creator, but it also connects us or warns us of people, right? But I think also when people hear about energy, it's like this really like elusive thing. It's like an enigma. We just don't get it. And it's like, but if you just sit in yourself and really think about how you relate to people, that's energy. Like even without words. There are people like, I could chill with Vel, listen to music. We don't even have to say anything. Yeah. And it's super chill. Yeah. And I could be with somebody else and be like, I can't take this, right? So I think also with Reiki, so when we break Reiki down, right, and Ki or Chi, hopefully you all have heard of like Chi, like, Qigong, Tai Chi, and that's really kind of this alchemy of movement and moving that energy within who we are and around who we are. But so looking at the word Reiki, it's like this like life force, right? This energy life force. Yeah. And we all stem from that, whether it is you are of one of the Judeo-Christian religions, or whether you're a Baha'i or a Krishna or a, I don't know, practicing Yoruba or Candomblé or Santeria. I can go on and on and on with these religious. Any of these. So there's these African inspired religions, and then you have like, you know, your traditional Christian, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, the ones that we hear a lot about. All of those, no matter where you come from spiritually or religiously, they all stem from some place, right? I'm a firm believer in there is the one. Whether the one for some of you relates back to, you know, the only begotten Son, Jesus, right? Or whether it is manifestations within African religions, it's still just the one, right? And I think that's where that life force comes from, that it resonates within us in certain ways, and it plays out in who we manifest ourselves to be, plays out in how we bring things to us in manifesting things, right? So to get deeper into Reiki, though, I'm going to first say that it's attributed to Asian culture.
Okay.
Corey's half Asian.
Not
Seen in the eyes.
I was going to say I see it in the eyes. Sorry, I see it in the eyes. Right on, brother.
So it's not a religion. So it's not a religion, correct?
It is not a religion.
Okay.
Definitely a practice around energy.
Okay.
You know,
Practice.
for me, for some people, it is a way of life, though.
Okay.
Right? Because I think when you're becoming more and more in tune with energy, you start speaking in a certain way or watching how you're speaking. You start paying attention to how it is that you converse with yourself. You start paying attention to what it is you are digesting, whether it is verbally, energetically, or whether that's actually physically, like with our food, right? But it is a bodywork practice in its, I would say, in its most, I wouldn't say basic, but in one of its forms, kind of like yoga, right? You look at yoga, and a lot of people are focused on the positions, the stances, right? However, 95% of yoga is about like the spiritual work that you're doing with yourself through the breath. Like that's really where the work is at. So kind of like with Reiki. So within Reiki, you know, some practitioners will use things such as crystals and tuning forks, and these are just things to hopefully help to open up the chakras.
Okay.
A lot of people attribute 7 chakras to Reiki. Those who have gotten deeper in their studies will say that there are several more, so you'll have like sub-chakras of the chakras, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And it goes from the base all the way to the top and kind of above your head. So the base being that kind of pelvic region, kind of where, I would say your tailbone.
Oh, so that's the base. So it's not the, because I know about the root chakra. So
yeah, so that is the root. That is the root chakra.
Okay,
And I was just going to say,
Oh, my bad.
I'm going to go through those. So that's the first chakra.
Okay.
And that root chakra is about grounding.
Okay.
So if you're ever like on a beach, which I know you for sure.
Always are.
Right, exactly. Always.
Haters gonna hate.
Fucking beach bum. Anyway, so have either of you felt where when you touch the earth, the sand, the water, you're like,
All the time. That's why I need to be around and in it. It like re-nourishes my body. It gives me
Yes.
grounded. It gives me peace. The smell of it gives me peace. When it touches the salt water, something about salt water and the
Yeah.
thing, like it grounds me. And like when I'm not by it or I don't have it around me, I'm kind of off.
yeah,
I live in fucking Cleveland. So
I
like
dig it
I'd be kind of off sometimes, but
for sure.
100%. Like it gives me this whole sense of like, I belong to something bigger.
I dig it. Can I just interject and say we did not plan these glasses? Please.
It was just,
You know, I was gonna-
fire. Glasses are hard.
They are.
I was
Mine are
Glasses are hard.
real.
They are.
Like I wear glasses.
You don't wear glasses.
wow.
I have a prescription.
Out there.
I just want to say,
Just
listen,
throw that.
it is all love, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen once we stop taping to Lavelle Nichols. I'm not sure what's about to happen to this nigga.
I ain't scared. What am I scared of? I ain't scared.
Shot for shot.
Shot for shots.
She did Browns. He did the glass. He did the
I am not scared.
glass.
He was waiting for that. He was waiting for that moment.
Bring it.
That's how we do. That's how we
Bring
do.
it.
I'm telling you,
Bring
we've been
it.
doing this for years.
Bring
But
it.
so yeah, you feel grounded. Like you feel connected to the earth.
Okay.
And that root chakra is really the chakra that, again, is our grounding, is our connection to the earth, and makes us feel stable.
Okay.
And when that's out of whack, we're just kind of all over the place, right? You're just like, oh, I can't finish things, or whatever the case is. Then you go up to the second chakra, which is your sacral chakra. And that sacral chakra is really the seat of creativity and our sexual understanding, openness, or if we're closed off, right? So if we're not feeling as sexually open, even with a partner we've been with for years, a lot of times it's because that's not intact. Like we haven't spent time in that space with ourselves. Okay.
Have y'all spent time in that space with yourself?
Why are we going?
Why?
That doesn't have nothing to do with this conversation.
Wait a minute. That is a whole nother episode. Thank you. Well, actually, I formally said that we don't know what Lavelle is going to be doing after this. I guess we do know. What he'll be
Yeah,
doing.
right.
Whoa.
Full
I
circle.
had to come.
Full
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah.
Full
Yeah.
circle.
So, speechless. Ow. We gonna get to the throat chakra. We gonna talk about that one. Right now, yours ain't ready.
Wait a minute. Pause. Is it time to take a commercial break? I feel like it's time to take a commercial break.
We can take a commercial break.
Bullshit.
Good, everybody.
So if you're a business, artist, or entrepreneur, we want to show you love. So hit us up. Hit us up at possibly_impaired on Instagram or email us at possiblyimpaired@gmail.com for a chance to have your product promoted on a future episode. Thank you. Back to the show. All right, so Vel wanted to interrupt something. What were we talking about, Vel?
Yeah. No,
We
it's
go
okay.
right back.
It's okay.
No.
We'll go into the chakras.
We'll
get there.
let our guests
We're like, that's like 3 chakras away? Is that like 3 or 4
Yeah.
chakras?
3 or 4 chakras.
Like,
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
All
get
right.
back up to the throat chakra.
Hoes.
Oh,
In this house.
there's some hoes in this house.
When you see them point them out,
Hey, Lavelle.
chakra that bitch.
That's the title right there.
See, I'm telling you, he needs his chakras balanced. Ooh, wait.
My chakras are balanced. Get it twisted.
So that's our seat of creativity, and I think when we feel like a blockage in our creativity, we could probably connect it to either being out of touch or severely out of touch with our sexuality. Like, where are we at, right? Are we having these releases? And those releases are so important because it literally, not just on a physical level,
Yeah.
but on a very spiritual level, it gets things flowing. Like, it's important.
So that helps your creativity, you're saying? Like,
Heck
just,
yeah.
Okay.
Heck
Oh,
yeah.
that's
And I don't think ad nauseum, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying.
You're not saying bang 50 whores?
No, you've done that.
First of
You know,
all,
I'm just saying. I love you. I love
no,
you.
I have not.
We love you as you are. We take you. Please come to the altar as you are.
I'm leaving.
Belle's not coming back to the
I'm
next
not
episode.
coming back to this
Belle's
podcast.
not coming back.
I resigned today.
We're never going to see Belle
We
again.
got one
But no, yeah, I think not ad nauseum, like legit. I think it's having balance with that as well. And I think sometimes even for creatives, when they are overly like releasing, like they get wild with it, right? And you see these really interesting pieces of art as a result, right?
Yeah.
So, but yes, our seat of creativity as well as sexuality and being in touch with that, right? Being comfortable in your body as well. And then from there, so that's just underneath your navel. And then,
Near the dick. Is that what you're trying to say? Like, in that area?
yeah, we'll come back to that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, right?
Technically.
It's in your genital. It's
It's
kind
in
of
your
in your
genital.
genital.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just above that.
Okay.
So, and then above your navel, a little further up, a couple inches up, you have your solar plexus.
Solar plexus.
And now that is really, and that's 3. Okay, so that's chakra 3. So we've gone through 1, 2, and 3, and that solar plexus is our like power. Like, you know, and when you really know that you're walking in your power, like viscerally, you can feel like it's all good. But when you are out of power, right? You were talking about, I'm going back to the code switching episode just because I was listening to it, you know, just 20 minutes ago. But when you're in front of like a boss or a manager or whomever or a colleague that's really shady, just viscerally, even if you have your stuff together, you still feel out of whack. Just like, what in the fuck is going on, right? So that's your solar plexus, and that's really where our power comes from. Part of our power, I should say. Then we're going to go up further. So your 4th chakra is your heart. And that chakra is really first and foremost love for self, love of self, right? And how you identify with that. I think
That's hard sometimes. for
It is.
people.
It is.
Like, I think that's a lot of the problems that happens in the world today. So people don't really have love for themselves, so they can't love anybody else. So it just makes it difficult to even interact with that type of person.
Yeah, a few
makes sense.
episodes. I think the episode, maybe at the end of the year, the last one you did in 2021.
She know her shit, y'all.
Oh shit.
Hey, why have people on here if they ain't listening?
I appreciate that.
Shit,
Seriously. No,
like,
seriously.
you know, you either with the tribe or not.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
So, I think Lavelle, I think you were saying, you know, stand in the mirror for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
that's-
remember that.
Yep.
That's some deep shit.
That's
And after that episode, I was thinking, I was like, I've said I love you to a lot of people, whether it's my parents, friends, lovers, my child. I've never stood and told myself, I love you, Mica, until after I heard you say that.
That's interesting.
And most people have never said, I love you, comma, your name.
Right.
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 That's fair. No, I've
Right.
never done that. I don't think.
no.
That's
I'm crying right now.
that's
Your
real.
brown
That's
jersey.
In your
Yeah.
Browns jersey.
My tears are brown.
And the puddle turned to orange.
Yeah, right.
No, yeah.
I'm gonna fuck you up. Proceed.
Couple more drinks, he'll be. But yeah, that's some deep stuff. So
Yeah.
really, that heart chakra, talking about the love of self and for self, and then additionally, the love that we receive, or sometimes not willing to receive from others, and why. And then again, how do we love others? You know, and I think like really tapping into that is some serious shit. Like when you really start looking at your relationships with people and those you say you love, are you really loving them? Are you lusting them? Are you just holding them in? Are they just a placeholder until such time as ...
Like something for your insecurity, just for your own,
Yeah.
because you don't want to be alone. Kind
It's a
of.
blankie.
Yeah.
Some people in our life, you know, they're like the adult blankie. Even if we're not having sex with them. It's
Right.
just like, okay, I know you're here.
Yeah.
I can kind of tug on you a little bit.
Yeah.
you
That
know?
safety blanket.
Yeah, which isn't so safe when you
Right.
really dig into it. And then from there, the throat chakra, Lavelle's favorite.
Favorite thing.
What is like? I don't understand. Like, okay,
Is
what
this 5?
Yes.
what is the throat chakra?
So the throat chakra, when it is balanced and open, it's where we speak our truth from.
Okay.
Okay.
Right? And that
Alright.
makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Seriously.
it's legit, like, you know, feeling blockage
Okay.
in your throat, right? When you come up against certain people. I'm sure there's elders in our families that, like, we don't say shit. Like, we just feel like, I can't speak.
No, I don't know any
Well,
elders like
you
that,
don't
'cause
have
I
a filter, as we all know.
whatever the fuck I wanna say, so.
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah,
Right.
like,
yeah, we
you know,
understand what you're saying.
But guess what? Sometimes we have blockage with people that we are sleeping with. So
Yeah.
we're intimate with people and can't
Yeah.
be vocally intimate with them, right? So there are blockages there as well. And also how we speak to ourselves, how we speak our truth to ourselves. Because a lot of times we lying to ourselves before we lying to everybody else,
Yeah, honestly.
right?
Yeah.
Truth right there.
And then our third eye in the center of our forehead. And that's the sixth chakra. And that chakra really connects us to the vision beyond the physical eyes, right? You know, I personally believe everybody has a purpose or purposes, plural, while they're on this planet, no matter how long they've been here. And you really don't connect to it until you've really understood how to see past what's in front of you, right? You got to see a little further.
I feel that.
And a lot of times it's for you to see. That's why it's so special, right? And we just
Not for anybody else to see.
That's
Right.
it's not. And
Yeah.
from there to the throat chakra, it's not for us to speak on it,
Okay.
right? So we have to be very mindful of that. And then our crown chakra above our head, that connects us with our understanding of our higher self. And that higher self really should be connecting to the creator, the most high, Jesus, whomever you connect with, right? That's where we should be going into self and really exploring that spiritual side of who we are and what our conversations are like with that higher being or power. So that's 1 through 7.
I like it.
And I think that and you all should check this out. I'll send it to you after this episode. But
Okay.
for the listeners, there's an episode of Avatar.
Okay.
And I love that cartoon because it's deep. Like when you sit, and it's one of the less risque animes, right?
Yeah,
like
right,
it's
right.
just, it's kind of chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's an episode where there's this elder and he's showing Aang what the chakras are and kind of how the flow of energy is.
Aang was the main one with the arrow. Like,
Yeah,
Okay.
mhm,
Okay.
he
Yeah.
was the avatar.
Okay. Yeah.
And you see they're at a stream and, water's flowing, but then it hits some rocks that are blocking off the next space to go to. And then there's more water, and that one has like a little space that water could go through, but then there's another one that blocks it. So the whole idea is that all of this lines up with one another, right? And truly, when one chakra is out of balance, where you're not paying enough attention to that spiritual side or that physical side of yourself, well, guess what? Everything else is out of whack as well in some way, shape, or form. My mother used to say, when one room of your house is messy or dirty, all the other rooms eventually will be just as messy or dirty, right? Because the overflow
Right.
That's
of
fair.
all the shit, the
Yeah.
habit around you just slinging stuff in your bedroom, it's going to be the same shit that happens in your kitchen that happens in your living room.
Yeah.
So it's the same idea with the chakras as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was when you were talking. I was like, that was the closest thing I could relate it to was the Airbender show because
Yeah.
I've seen all of it. But yeah, I remember the episode that you're talking about. So it's full circle.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. Go back and look at it.
Yeah.
What was the question I had? I wanted to know, what do you say to people that, because when you get to specifically like the third eye chakra, people start to look at it like, oh, this is some like trippy stuff that is not
Illuminati.
like real or like whatever. Like,
Yeah.
what do you say to people that don't really believe in this?
Especially niggas.
Yeah, especially us. Like, I just-
No, I will relate it back to where a person's faith walk in life is, right? So if I'm speaking to someone who I know is like, let's just say a Baptist or Pentecostal Christian, so on and so forth, I will connect with an idea that connects with what they already know.
okay.
So whether it's saying like, in terms of energy, when you're feeling the Holy Ghost, like that's the energy of the Heavenly Father.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
and the fact that ye are gods, or we are created in his image, that means you have a godly sense about yourself. It doesn't mean like, my son is not Mica Job. Like
Yeah.
he's not me, but he has bits and pieces of me. And it's the same concept. So I try to connect with where a person is at spiritually already in their life and relate it to that.
How long have you been practicing this Reiki?
So I have been practicing Reiki now. We're in 2022, so 8 years.
8 years. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And through my personal journey, because any body worker will tell you, especially if you're doing spiritual work, that you have to do it on yourself as well, right? Like you got to check in with yourself, because it's a fine art to enter into a space with someone, and we all got shit. I ain't perfect. Like I'm practicing this stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna have my drinks. I'm gonna go kick it. I'm
Right.
gonna have, a little whatever I got going on. But, once you,
Smoke weed every day.
I don't, but do you?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. Was that your code switching? Perhaps. But yeah, like in order to enter spaces with people and really be conscious of, you have to first and foremost be conscious of your own shit,
Okay.
right? Like you got to put that shit to the side. And to me, that's a real skill. Being able to walk into spaces with people and not just like latch onto them like a leech with your own shit, like dumping, right? I think now during this time, these terms are coming out. Like you can't just dump on your friends, like calling your friends and just talking about your shit. You got to remember they have their own shit. So I'm very, very, very particular about grounding when I'm in a session with someone. And I say specific things just to the effect of, what's mine is mine and what's theirs is theirs, right? And I'm not coming in with my own thoughts. Like for real.
Yeah.
And that's difficult.
Right.
That's some shit.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
to try to do that. But yeah.
Okay. How with the daily practice, you do it daily. I'm assuming you practice this daily, or how often?
There's days that I skip on myself.
Okay.
I mean, I see clients probably 4 days a week.
Okay. I didn't know like how if you were doing it daily, I didn't know how long. Like, I don't know. Do you go through each chakra and like just check in with each chakra? Is that how it works?
I tend to do just a scan of myself. I may
Okay.
place my hand in a certain place and just like check in physically.
Okay.
Or I will think about what's been going on in my life.
Okay.
And where that's stemming from.
Okay.
And then I'll just focus that energy. And again, that energy could just be a thought process. It like that's really energy. It's thought,
Yeah.
right? So if
Not this earth-shattering thing
Yeah.
that we need to see like physically or like a movement or something like that.
I mean, and it can be because
Yeah.
for people who've been practicing qigong, you know,
Qigong.
for real movement of energy and your chi, it's like your center of power and being able to shift it. And literally you see men and women breaking bricks, right?
Wow.
It's not just the technique, the physical technique, it's the energetic technique.
This is the actual thing.
really, Oh yeah.
Oh,
like
wow.
you could find that stuff anywhere
Wow.
on YouTube. But
That sounds like mushrooms.
Well, the breaking.
you want to add some DMT into there too? I mean, ayahuasca. Let's have it all out there.
Yeah. Corey and the
Like
cocaine.
Corey. Yeah, I heard that one too. Corey.
It was a solid question. Solid question.
What was I about to say?
I was gonna say like, so when you with a client, what is the length of time that you spend with them, and like, do you let them dictate where you're gonna go, or do you say like, we need to work on this, or I feel this kind of energy going on?
So each therapist is a little different. For me, I specifically ask that people don't tell me what's going on.
Okay.
Because when they tell me what's going on, now my mind has decided this is what I need to do,
Yeah.
as opposed to just going into the space with the person. I let them know that I will either hover over certain places so you won't physically feel the weight of my hand, or sometimes you will feel the weight of my hand very gently, almost like as heavy as like a nickel or a quarter. And then I just ride out, like wherever I'm kind of led to go. I've had sessions where people have laughed while they are in a pseudo sleep.
Wow.
I have had sessions where people have cried. Like, I'm talking about tears are just like pouring down their face. And whenever I see someone having that particular release, a very profound release, I remove my hands from that space because that's for them. It's not for me to engage with that person. Like, we have this thing in our culture, and I think in many parts of the world, where we'll give a tissue to somebody when they start crying. And what you've said, without really saying it, is, I've kind of sort of had enough. Here's a tissue.
Yeah.
Instead of allowing, you've like stopped that release for the person. And you haven't done it with that intention.
Yeah. By giving them a tissue, you tell them to stop crying.
Yeah.
basically,
yeah.
Like, dry that shit.
Yeah.
You better get over that shit.
Right.
Let's,
Yeah.
let's ride
We in
out.
public. What are you doing?
Right. So, but back to what you were saying in terms of the length of the sessions, 60 minutes is actually a good session, right? Kind of like massage body work. But there are people who come for like 30, 45 minutes. Some people want 90 minutes. I tend to stay in the 60 because some Reiki sessions can be really overwhelming for people and they don't realize it. And I think I'm a fan of when a person is, when a session's complete with me, at least my part of the session, I'll encourage people to write something down, even if it's just a word, so you can come back to it if something comes up.
One question. Do you offer happy endings at the end of
You know, it is just like uneducated niggas to ask questions like that. You know what? I do, and the happy ending is knowing that you paid me for the work that I do, the very professional work that I do.
Correct,
And
professional.
and you can go home,
Bars.
and you can go home and hopefully do the internal work you need to do all by yourself.
Thank you for clearing that up.
And if there is some external work that you can do, my hope is that you have the appropriate lubricants or persons available to you.
Or persons.
Or persons.
Get?
First.
Get? All right.
Listeners wanted to know. I had to.
Yeah.
This is what I
They
know.
did.
Yeah.
They did. They did.
Yeah,
They did.
they were asking so many questions about it.
No, but you know what? You would be surprised. So I don't know if in terms of like you get everything on the internet now, right? Just everything. I'm sure there's something missing, but just about everything. And there are these gentlemen who are massage therapists.
Mhm.
There's this guy called Mr. Vegas. So that alone, you can imagine.
Yeah,
so
it sounds-
there are
yeah.
these
Okay.
gentlemen who
Is he stripping on
and-
top of the?
Well, you know, the women
the women
are they're naked. Like
Yeah.
on Instagram, you're not seeing their breasts.
Yeah.
But he's like, he has them like back facing him and massaging their glutes and massaging their thighs and like hugging up on them, chest on his chest. And it's crazy because, like, on a more serious note, that makes it difficult for female therapists because when we are professional and we're about our business, right? Like, I know, Lavelle, you're just,
I'm
you know,
just
we
joking,
know we go
yeah.
way back, right? It's cool. But you actually have some men who will have that mindset. Like, oh, you know, if he's doing this for women, and, you know, maybe these women are, and we get, I probably, in all the years I've been working as a therapist or a practitioner, rather, I probably have had like 3 times where somebody's asked me that. But I've been in environments that were with other practitioners and very professional environments, so I just haven't had to be open to that. But I got buddies who like work on their own, and they constantly get calls like that. And it's just like, that's great that these men are able to make a living doing that work. But conversely, it really attacks the work that women do as well.
It kind of waters it down, or
Yeah, and it makes people feel that much more comfortable asking us if we do that, but on like some serious stuff. Like,
Right.
you know, a colleague of mine who has her own space, actually works with some other people, but typically on her own, had this gentleman call like, hey, you know, do I have to be draped? I don't want to use the cover and the sheet. And it's just like, you know, and she was asking a couple of us, you know, what does she say? And I was just like, say you're a professional environment, and, you know, it doesn't sound like you're the therapist for him.
Right.
But it just makes it hard for some of us, the work that we do.
and it sucks because I feel like with this practice, it's so vulnerable. It's so vulnerable because it's, you said people try, like people just try out of nowhere. So it's so vulnerable. So if somebody's taking advantage of you at that moment, it's kind of like, it's the therapist with and split in half, you know, like
Yeah.
just like you said, yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it's like,
I think, you know, massage, any sort of body work or energy work is such an intimate space that you're in with a person. There are things that come out in sessions verbally that a person may not have even explained to the person that they lay with every single night because they haven't, the environment, when they feel safe with a therapist, they feel like they can, you know, just talk about some things sometimes, right? So I think that's where the word therapist came in too, because a lot of times you'll have people in there that want to talk and so on and so forth and just feel open.
Have you ever had a situation where like the person actually affected you, like from your work, like, you know, maybe seeing their reaction or just from them talking? Like, has it ever affected you, like in a negative or positive way, like while you're in that session, I guess?
I have had. So I'll tell you 2 things. One, where I affected the person in the session. It happened once. It'll never happen again. I'll tell you that story. But to the first question, I had a client who I didn't realize, and it was through Reiki. It wasn't through massage. I didn't realize, I did my usual kind of like what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. And after the session, I was crying. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't prepare myself well. And I think, like I said what I normally say, but I wasn't intentional as I said it.
Yeah.
So I was just, you know, going through what I do in a session and placing my hands in different spots. And I came out and I was like heavy. And she was going through some stuff, you know? And
So you absorb that energy.
yeah. Yeah, and we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Energy is
Like, you know, but we
transferable.
tend to do it with people that we know and love,
Yeah.
right? You know, when your mom ain't feeling good, like, you feel it.
yeah,
You know, when your brother or sister is going through some shit, you feel it even before they say it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for that reason, do you think you have to do you have to start your morning before you even go to work and or your job and help somebody else? Do you have to have yourself kind of in tune, like your own
Oh, yeah.
chakras in tune before
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
jump into that?
And they're not always completely balanced.
Okay.
You know, because I'm a human living in an experience, right? Really a spirit living human experience. But I do try to do, whether it's meditation, I journal every day. I started doing that, and that's been really, really good.
Is that how you start your day?
Sometimes I'll start my day that way. It's just how I feel. So sometimes it might be movement, just some stretching. It may be journaling, or it may be meditation. But something to give back to me first.
Feel that.
Because I give so much of myself outwardly. And I think we all do in some way, shape, or form. We often don't do stuff just to connect with ourselves first and foremost, especially at the top of the day. I think that sets the tone.
I feel that. I just read something on Instagram that I tried to bring into my life was not looking at your phone for the first hour when you wake
In the
up.
morning.
Just not even looking at anything, a text message or anything like that. That's something I've been trying to bring into my life, and I feel like it's been helping a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I think it does. I mean, sometimes it's like, especially depending on what you do, and you get alerts or whatever, and you're like, oh man, I gotta check this real quick.
Yeah.
But I really try not to touch my phone. Like, I'm usually up at 6:30 before 7:30, and if I do, it's really brief, just to be like, do I need to deal with this right now, or can I wait on it?
When you started getting into Reiki and the chakras and everything like that, was there something that happened in your life to make you be like, I need a different like outlook on stuff, or did you encounter like, you know, the Reiki and all that kind of stuff by accident, and then you're like, oh, I want to, you know, dive more into this? Like, how did it?
I was raised in a household where my mother was very in tune with just being spiritually aware.
Okay.
So it's interesting because as in your youth, you tend to walk away from or run away or sprint away from that which your parents happen to be, right?
Yeah, no.
And then I slowly found myself coming
Coming
back
back
to it.
to
I was
it.
like, what is going on? Why can't full circle be like coming into full circle generational wealth? Why am I coming back to this shit with like, no.
Yeah.
Why
Different
can't I
circle.
have my 40 acres and a mule circle? Why am I? But yeah, so that was that. And then I actually was working at a cancer center.
Okay.
And so speaking of full circle, my mother passed away from cancer. And I never in a million years thought I would work in that space. And it felt like home in a weird kind of way, because I had gone on that journey very young in my life with my mother. And while working there, went from one role to the next. And, you know, the role that I not fell into, I manifested it. I wanted to do it. I remember being there and, you know, checking patients in and talking with the woman who was running the kind of like self-care services for cancer patients or those living with cancer or being treated for cancer. And I had asked her, and this was 2 years prior to me even working in the role, I was just like, oh, are you looking for another person? She's like, no, it's just me. And I just remember walking away saying like, yeah, it's not going to be you forever. And 2 years later, I was working there and body work. And then on her kind of menu of things available to the patients was Reiki. And I had heard of it, was familiar with it, but just didn't practice it. And I was like, you know what? I'm about to add this to my stuff. And
It grew from there.
yeah, like I enjoy it. I think that people gain a greater sense of tapping into themselves. And as a practitioner, it's not so much that I'm doing it for the person. And I think that's a big thing. A lot of times people go to a therapist or a practitioner because they want you to solve their problem, right? They're looking to you for that it thing. And really, as practitioners, when you are a person of humility, hopefully, and again, we all ebb and flow inside and outside of humility, but really you're trying to create a space for the person to feel as though they're relaxed enough to do the work that they need to do, right? So that's the biggest thing about the work that I do. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think the thing that got me interested in it was I started meditating in like November, December. And one time I was just I was going through something and I was just feeling like insecure. Like I was just going in my head, kind of just like not feeling confident. And I felt like this pit in my stomach, like a literal pit in my stomach. And I was like, what is going on? And then I read Reiki and it was like, that's that area for confidence. And I was like, that's insane how it actually, I believed it after that, honestly.
I think we've been conditioned to think of things as very linear.
Yeah.
And anything outside of that linear path means that it's either devil work or it's not of God or whatever the case is. And I think the spirit's going to tell you whether it's okay or not. Like when you really get in tune with who you are, it's going to tell you if it's for you or if it's not for you. And it's okay if it's not for you. So that's interesting that you had that experience.
Yeah,
but
it was weird because I didn't know it. I didn't ask for it. It was just an actual feeling. I kind of like listened to my body for once, honestly.
Because most of the time we don't listen.
You don't. You just ignore it.
We've been taught, because it's so linear.
Like you said,
You've been taught.
I'm
to
sorry, excuse me, that's my word. And another one for Mica,
not,
the guest.
Go down that road or like phase it out.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the end. Like, 'cause I think a lot of people really are in tune with energy. They just are afraid to say it, or they don't realize what it is, and then they say like, "Oh, well, that's not of me. That's got to be something else." And then they don't listen to the energy, and they end up in a worse situation by not listening to the energy. Only speaking from experience, I've done
Seriously,
this, where I've been like, "No, I know what I'm doing," and well, shit, you should have paid attention when you heard that thing that you didn't listen to, and now you're in this bigger mess because you didn't even listen to what you were supposed to listen to. So.
Well, and I think also too, like, why is it okay for spiritual leaders to lay hands on us,
Right.
but we don't trust
Our own
that we have
power.
that power as well? Like, why can't I just sit here with myself, ask for guidance as I lay hands on myself and tap into, again, being a child of God? Like, why can't I do that? Right?
I don't think people realize the power that they have.
Lack of confidence,
Yeah.
or like or knowledge, I guess you could say.
And the reason you can't do that is because religion. Like, religion is a man-made thing, and so like you have to follow
Like the
all these-
of
it is, and so it's like, well, you can't do that because like I'm actually higher than you because I am closer to the Father than you are because he told me some shit that I think is true or something of that nature. You know what I mean?
Which is wild because I've always thought children were the closest.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because they're so pure, right? As long as they haven't been tainted at a very young age because of molestation, or there are things that definitely, unfortunately, do taint children at a young age, or they see violence. But they're the closest. They've come from the womb, and they're the closest to having been encased in such a protective space, right? And as the Creator is creating them, they're close. So
That's fair.
Look to the children, and they will tell you.
They just left the crib.
Yeah, they just left the crib.
They rolled on out. They was like, "I'm here, bitches,"
That's a good point. I didn't thought about that.
and that was the safest environment for them, right? All the nutrients, right?
Yeah.
They've been fed. They can sleep.
Yeah.
All
Whenever they
that
want.
good- Yeah.
That's why they always fucking assholes.
I do not sanction what Corey just said, everyone.
They are.
You had a question earlier about like energy.
Yeah,
and everything.
so
And I got to tell you another part of the story, but
okay, so my question was like, sometimes you can notice somebody without like, or notice maybe what they do or what they're into without actually asking them.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So do you ever find yourself like out and about and you're just, maybe talking to somebody or just passing by and you're like, that person, studies, Reiki or like is into chakra and all that kind of stuff? Or is it more so like you can't really tell until you start conversing with somebody?
I've had both. But what I've learned as I've gained what I believe to be wisdom is that I'd rather a person speak it, right? I'd rather see how they move as well in conjunction with their words, because sometimes a person could be studying stuff and they're literally just studying stuff, right?
Yeah.
You can have someone that goes to school and they get straight A's in all their subjects and there's no application.
Yeah.
So even if I have an inkling that, oh, you're reading something, or they've told me they're reading something, now I'm trying to see where is the application, right? And do I even need to be in that space with the person, right? Because they might be studying some of the same stuff I'm studying, but they may be studying it for intentions that are not of the highest good.
It's easy to do with Instagram, social media, to say you're, you know what I mean, like representing something and say like you're attached to something, and you're like, well, what are you doing about this in your everyday life? Like, is your movement saying that you know these things? And it's not, so it doesn't add up.
I was just talking to someone about it's really beautiful that we've become more open to conversation about mental health, physical health, spiritual health. We've become more open to that, right? And even some of the most prominent leaders, they all over Instagram, However, there's something also scary about that for me, because there's so much therapy that's accessible in ways that you're like, ooh, is this person the right person? Is that person the right? Like, it's just this influx of, oh, people need it. We're about to pump the system with it.
Yeah.
Right.
It could water it down. Man.
Yeah. And that's what I'm scared about, I think, partially. I'm not saying that's always the case, but I just think it's a money-making machine.
Yeah, I was about to ask, because it has been a thing, especially I say since 2020, when everybody was kind of like trapped in their house. Like, mental health has been on the forefront, kind of.
Yeah.
Where do you see it going? Like, where do you see it? Do you think it's a benefit, or is there an ulterior motive for this? Do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
I think there's some people who are like, shit, I wasn't making money. I'm about to make this go out.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I think people are doing that. And then I think there's some people who intrinsically are just good people, and they want people to connect to their highest self. And if they have to use this platform, then they're going to use it. I do. And that's with anything. Right?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
100% true.
But so to double back, I had my only experience with this. So I was going through some stuff, and a client of mine who I had been seeing for like 2.5 years came in, and she wanted me to work just like clavicle up, so collarbone up, just head work, head and neck work, which I love, because a lot of times when people go get a massage, for whatever reason, a lot of practitioners don't spend a lot of time at the head and the face. And I think these are areas, we use these muscles so much, and to eat, to smile, to laugh.
Talk shit.
Yeah, to talk shit, Corey, Lavelle.
I
But,
don't like your tone.
well, you shouldn't.
I
And my
don't like
energy
your
is telling
tone.
you all you need
Yeah,
to know.
I feel the energy, and I'm about to fuck this energy up.
And I am feeling very grounded. I am feeling very grounded in my. So I just remember I started crying during the session,
Okay.
but she couldn't hear me, and my hands were pretty steady. Like, I was still doing my stuff. And at the end of the massage, I said, how you feeling? And she said, I feel worse than when I came in.
Damn.
And she was like, I just have this pain in my head, like this heaviness. And because I knew her personally, I like take her back into the room, and I was like, yo, this is what's going on. And she was like, I could feel every single thing that was going on with you.
So you were sending your energy to her.
Yep. Never did it again. Like, I'm talking about, if I know I got something going on, I specifically do not talk to that person, do not reply to messages before I see clients. Not even in between, because I know that I'm so sensitive to energy, and if I'm not careful, I'll give it to somebody. But that was deep. I was like, shit, it had never happened.
How long ago was that? Like
No, that was like 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
But since then, I've been like,
Yeah.
like, I just won't entertain. But we can exchange energy with people, and
Do
we
it all
put
the
shit on
time.
people
Yeah.
that we don't, like when a loved one is super pissed and you've done nothing, and you're just like, what the hell's going on? And, they probably had something happen to them that may have been amplified by something else that was exposed to them, like somebody that had some shit on them.
That's true.
So,
And now you mad.
right, and now you mad, and and some other shit didn't happen, or your spouse or a loved one, they come home and you're feeling all happy about seeing them, and they pissed because they had a conversation with somebody else, but they don't know how to shake that.
Yeah.
Right.
What sign are you?
Gemini.
Gemini. Okay.
She's crazy.
I am, and I approve this message. No, but in my older age, I've definitely learned how to balance. I'm aware of my two sides. And I think that we all have this shadow that we walk with. Like, physically, we have a shadow. And I think the shadow is the self that we try to hide.
Don't come on here
Damn.
dropping
Dropping
gems like this.
bombs.
Like,
I'm
That was a bar.
saying.
That was a bar.
I'm saying.
Bar.
That was a Drake bar.
But hey, Drake, call me later. But I think that is our shadow also protects us, right? Or being aware of somebody's shadow that's walking behind you on
Right.
a late night, that protects us, right? And I think that instead of walking spiritually with our shadow behind us, it's okay to like, yo, shadow, come sit next to me. What is this? What are these darker parts about myself that really are, they exist to, in many cases, help us. Sometimes we do have to go into the shadow self and be rough and tough and protect ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Whether at work, sometimes in relationships, whatever the case is, we have to state very profoundly, this shit ain't going down, right?
Right.
And I think that's the shadow self. But if we don't have a good relationship with that, that's when we get in trouble.
Is that what you did when you fought that dude?
Commercials?
story.
How many commercials are allowed to be had? How many?
But y'all go to commercial? Okay. I
What's
got
up,
you.
everybody? It's Corey over here, social media manager for Possibly Impaired. When you listen to the episode, if you find anything you love, like, or even hate, we want to hear your feedback. So please follow us at possibly_impaired on Instagram, just to let us know how you feel. Can't wait.
All right. Shots was fired.
Yeah.
Wow.
beep that out.
You know,
No, I was just.
I'm feeling some unsettling energy.
It was friendly
Banter.
banter back and
I love
forth.
it. See, we know each other.
Yeah, back and forth, that's all. But she will fuck up a nigga, so don't get it twisted.
Hey, you know.
Hey, you gotta do what you
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Hell
Gotta
yeah.
do what you
Nah, but I'm definitely a lot calmer. I think wisdom, you know, and again, digging into those darker parts of yourself and not trying to abdicate those parts of yourself. Just be real. This is part of me. This is what I'm capable of. And once you know what you're capable of, you can not put a top on it. Because a lot of times people, they have an idea of what they're capable of and they put a top on it. And that top is going to explode at some point. But just be aware of it and just say, is what I'm about to do or say really for my highest good, right? And if it's not for your highest good, it's definitely not for the other person's highest good. So.
I think that's beautifully said because most people don't realize what they're capable of, or they actually do know what they're capable of. They try to put a top on it, and you can't move forward without knowing what you're capable of doing. You know, if you're going to be putting yourself in certain energies,
Yeah.
this is the reaction you're going to get no matter how mature you are, no matter how stable you are, you're going to get this reaction out of you. So you got to know the shadow.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do.
Yeah.
That's really hard to do, to be like,
Very good
yeah,
point.
I can go there.
Yeah.
You get me, whatever. But the beauty about it is like, I know it's there. I know it exists, and we work together.
Yeah,
Nothing's working
yeah.
against me in this situation. We're working together.
And you can't pray it away. That's the other thing, right? You can't pray it away. You just can't. You
You gotta
can't
face it.
Yeah, you gotta look at it in the face and be like, "Yo, you wildin'. How can we not do
And
that?"
sometimes you need people around you to tell you wowing, that you trust,
That's
and
true.
like can exchange it with,
That's
like
true.
that you with
Like y'all tell me all the
it's
time.
like that, yeah,
About 3 times a week.
At least they're consistent. I mean, yeah, no, you need that. I got a rule. I don't have the friends that I have. I only have them because I'm able to tell them that they ain't on their shit and they can do the same for me. And if I can't do that in any of my relationships or friendships, then I can't have it.
That's a good point.
Because they
can't have it.
Yeah, they
That's a good
can't
point.
handle it. Or
Yeah, no.
But that didn't come like, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
That didn't come at like 20, right? That's like a growth thing, right? Like you got to be into a point where like you got to grow, mature,
You weed them
get
out.
some wisdom, weed them out, and be like, I don't have time for that because all I put my time and my energy into is what is gonna
Yeah.
drain me.
I noticed like probably around 35 when I started to lose connection with certain relationships. Vel and I, we had a stint where like we weren't really talking to each other, and it revolved around someone that I was involved with, and I allowed their energy to like take a hold of friendships that I had with other people in a way that I wasn't aware of. I don't think they consciously or maliciously did that, but I wasn't aware of it, so it was just allowed to happen.
Yeah.
And
And there was nothing I can do about it at the time because I was blocked.
yeah, like
Out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, but coming full circle, like you know the people that you need to come back to, and having a certain level of humility and having those conversations around, yeah, that's not cool, but it's wisdom. And I saw it happening to a certain extent, but I couldn't really make sense of it for some years later, where I could come back and say, you know, man, I'm sorry, and this is why I'm sorry, and have those really raw conversations. But again, that's wisdom. That's getting in touch with your energy as a human being as well.
And also, just because, you know, that situation came around and we had a talk about it, and you realized what was happening, it was good for you, but it didn't necessarily mean that I had to be like, okay, cool. Like, let's just go back to do whatever it is.
Yeah.
I could have just been like, yeah, okay, cool, thank you, but I want no parts of this.
Yeah.
There were some years that still it took a while, even though, and I think that's another thing. Sometimes we say sorry to people and we think that they have to immediately, now they can accept the apology, but they have to immediately fall back into whatever role we were used to them being in, and that's not cool either. So you have to allow people to, yes, hear it, feel it, synthesize it, and spit it out the way they need to.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, I've been in situations, especially in relationships. I think what I took from what you just said was like, I've been in relationships where I've been with a woman and she's uncomfortable, like woman friends that I have around, kind of, and she hasn't told me, hey, you can't talk to him, but self-consciously I don't want her to feel uncomfortable, so I've like not been around. I've stopped hanging out around certain people, and that kind of like pushes them away, and there's no point for that, you know. So
yeah. I think you listen to the person that you're dating and see what their reasoning is behind it, because sometimes you got people around you that really don't mean you well. Yeah. You're used to them, you're comfortable with them, but they don't necessarily mean you well. But when it comes from a place of jealousy and a place of like, no, I need to be the woman that, you know, you rely on for everything. Like, I have platonic male friends, Lavelle, and I have about 3 others who, like, we'll go have brunch, we'll do whatever, and whomever they're with, they're very clear, like, this is not a line you cross. Like, Mica ain't trying to get with me. I'm not trying to get with her. Like, literally, they are best male friends who I know. If
I mean, I raised your son.
Yeah, whatever, nigga. You're like a whole foot shorter than him. What were you raising? You were not raising Simba. You were not raising Simba on the pride land of the earth. I am sorry.
How many times I had Yosh when he's 3, 4, 5? He was like this one. He is tall now, but whatever.
You are not Mustafa.
Yoshaya, shout out.
Speaking of your son, like, is he into all of this? Do you get him hip to all of this? Or
so we have conversations about it. I think that sometimes teens, they're not quite there, right? Like, they're trying to find themselves, figure it out. But he does have a sense of spirituality and understanding when something doesn't necessarily feel right.
He is the most well-adjusted teenager. Like, honest, I'm not even like blowing smoke up anybody's ass. It's like, she has done a phenomenal job raising this black male from a single mother. She's a single mother. And Yoshaya is a pure example of that.
Thank you. Very humble.
That's really dope.
Yeah, my whole thing was, you know, putting out a human that other humans didn't cringe to have to deal with. You know, I think that's every parent. That's every parent's prayer. I feel like, let me raise a human that does not piss people off at work.
Right.
That does not eat other people's lunches that are in the refrigerator, like wild shit. So very humble. Thank you.
Yeah, 17, I definitely wouldn't have been there. I don't think at 17 I was not there at all.
Yeah, he just is. Yosh is just a product of like her and the village that was around him.
Yeah, like village. My mother had a village around me of really awesome, dynamic people. And even though I don't necessarily connect to everyone in the village, because as you grow, you know what part of the village you still need to be connected to, right? I think honoring the village and thanking them, but, you know, sometimes you just kind of outgrow the village. But seeing my mother do that, it was really important for me to have a village around my son that was not only blood relatives, chosen people who I know could lead him in ways that if I were no longer here, that he'd have people to fall back on for sure.
That's real.
I feel that. Did y'all have any more questions regarding Reiki?
I was gonna say, do you see it like, is it kind of like a, I don't know how long it's been around. So is it like a growing community? Is there like, you know what I'm saying? Because you could find a Christianity Facebook group, you know, as soon as you open the app.
Yeah,
but is there like, you know?
Yeah,
like
I think Reiki falls up under, it could be like body work. It could be spiritual crystal work. It could fall up under those who do spiritual work under the guise of whether it's Wiccan work, so witches, or who are not negative, by the way.
That's an interesting stigma.
Yeah, I think we have evil Christians, we got positive Christians. We got evil witches, we got positive witches.
Right.
Sure.
I just think we have evil people and positive
Light and dark
people.
both exist.
Exactly. So that's why I say that. But
Okay.
so people who subscribe to tarot card reading and so on and so forth, those spiritualities, voodoo, which is attributed to Haitian people, which a lot of people think that's like black magic. Can people use black magic? Sure. But that is not in its essence what it exists for, right? So, but yeah, you can find those groups everywhere. It was an Asian man, Usui, and I can't remember his first name.
Usui.
Usui, Usui, who's attributed to kind of having this spiritual awakening. I want to say back in 50s, maybe even earlier than that. And then a woman by the last name Takata, Asian woman as well, kind of brought it over to the U.S.
Okay.
So, but previous to that, it's been around in other
Centuries,
texts.
probably, yeah.
There are
Yeah.
African forms of healing work, right? There's Indian forms of healing work. I think healing work just existed and exists with people indigenous to whatever land they are on, because that is a way of connecting to the earth and connecting with themselves. So I think every group of people, even Celtic people, have had some practices, whether pagan or whatever the case is, that connects with energy, just called many different things.
I feel like I would be missed if I don't shout out my dad, because he's always been like a spiritual person. This is like his like lane, and I don't know if it's just what you said, the full circle thing, going back to what your father has always, or your family, your parents have always taught you. But I don't know if it's that, or if it is becoming more common in Western civilization, like Eastern medicine and practices and all that type of things.
Which makes sense. We walk on land of indigenous Native Americans, Native people to this land. Not even Native Americans, right? But just indigenous people to this land, and their connection to nature and spirit is very strong. So you cannot walk on this land and not come full circle. Whether full circle,
You can if you're white.
yeah, but
I'm just joking.
I was gonna say now that's another episode. But I think whether you seek to acknowledge it or not, you always come full circle to spirit.
Yeah.
Velda can't go episode without don't shout at the right person.
Right. I was gonna say almost every episode. Did that code switching? Did you go to work and say, "What up, my nigga"? Did you do that this week? You should have. You should have. It was Martin Luther King's birthday.
Yeah, we was allowed to do it on Monday. It's all right on Monday.
That's why they close places and shit, because they don't want us to say that.
As like nature came through, it was like,
I'm going off in February. I'm like,
Well, I told Vail that I wanted to talk about Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell.
what do you do?
Y'all didn't. What?
that.
Corey,
I
you
mean,
always be coming through with the news of the
cracker-ass
day. What
cracker.
you got today?
News today.
You were the news of the day.
You were the news of
Yeah,
the day.
yeah.
You were the
You were
news.
You
the
of
always
the day.
sweet. No, Mitch McConnell just like there was a reporter who said, maybe Lavelle, I'll let you.
Well, he
kinda
just
say it a
basically
little
said
better.
that African Americans are not really Americans.
Right, he
And
separated them.
that we were against the real Americans.
He said that like recently.
Yes.
Yes,
just
because
today.
it had to do with
The
the
voter
voter
right.
Yeah, the Voting Right Act that
Didn't
the
pass.
Democrats they didn't have enough support within their own party,
Well, I mean, those two.
which is typical.
But it's those
Typical.
two because, like, they're still,
Hey man,
Listen, in 2022.
I'm my own party still.
But listen, in 2022, y'all.
It's coming.
2022, y'all. We sitting at this table, maybe our voting would be like, we can't do it anymore if we wanted to. Not saying that everybody has to, but if we wanted to, we couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Wait,
I mean,
you-
there's a
wait,
lot
wait.
of red tape.
Wait, what are you? Wait, what are you saying? My
What
bad.
are you at- are
So
you
the
asking?
Voting Rights Act, which was enacted in 1964 through the Civil Rights Movement, Martin Luther King, and all those things like that, gave us equal opportunity to go participate.
Yeah.
Before we didn't have that. Well, now every so often it keeps being brought back up, in the Senate.
They still trying to push it back. They're
To
trying
renew it. It has to be renewed.
Oh wow.
And it has not.
And it has not, and this time, like,
Why the fuck we gotta renew it?
because we're not considered citizens.
Because because we may not want to vote, so we need to revisit.
Yeah,
like
or
what?
some shit like that. So that's what she's referring to. That's what she's talking about.
So that's
but-
what Mitch was saying.
Yeah, but it's nothing surprising. Nothing.
I mean, it's not
people do
surprising.
is
I mean, the
surprising.
nigga not wrong. They brought us over here. We not fucking American.
No, we are.
What
not.
about the
I mean,
generation
yeah,
that
we
were
are
born
born
after?
eventually,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
the beginning, no, we weren't.
Yeah.
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 But that's so weird, the concept. This is all, I just thought. So we're not really, you said we're not really Americans, but generations we have been. But you know, like as African or whatever you want to call it, as Americans, we're the only group of people in the world, in America, that can say like we don't have a homeland. Like even when you go back to Africa, when I went back to Africa, I wasn't born there. I didn't know anybody there. They said welcome home. And I felt that in my soul. Like I felt that, like welcome
You
home.
felt that energy.
Let's
You were
tie it out.
grounded?
I was grounded.
Maybe
Welcome
grounded.
back.
That first chakra was
That-
feeling rooted.
Listen, it was fucking rooted, and I didn't even know what that
Rooted to the
was.
tutor.
You know what I mean? So I've never been there. I grew up in fucking east side of Cleveland. What you mean, welcome home?
Right.
Like, wait a minute. Fuck the mother niggas, because I'm down for my niggas. Fuck the mother niggas. I ride for my niggas. Fuck the mother
I don't even know what street I'm on. Street side at.
I ain't never seen that bird before.
But needless to say, it was this whole thing of like the energy, the chakra, the rootness was just like, this is my home. And even I don't know. And that's why I'm so fascinated. I really am fascinated. Corey will tell you this. I'm fascinated about like history and like family history and like learning my DNA and where, if we could trace it back that far, because so many black people can't, you know, slavery and shit.
Did you go to the Middle Passage
In Ghana?
in Ghana?
No,
Yeah.
so I didn't go to the Middle Passage in Ghana, but I went to a slave transport.
And did you
thing.
feel it?
I can't even talk about it. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
No, I
I
didn't.
can't even. And
Yeah.
I think I'm not even like I'm about to start like crying about it right now because like it was just so like I feel like a lump in my throat because I can't imagine like a person like me or you guys like just being swept up and put into ships like that and like brought over and then half of you didn't make it and you had to like it's just too much. And so like I did feel the sense of like the ancestors there that like had no choice and that's what happened to them and then they had to come here and make a way.
Right.
And then people are always like, well, why are you, you know, like in general, why are black, because we had to just be tough. We had to just be strong. We didn't have opportunities to talk about our energies or our chakras.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we didn't have that. So like,
Yeah.
it's just a lot.
But we
so.
still found a lot of ways.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Whether it's in spirituals of the church,
Mm-hmm.
right? We still connected. Whether it was singing those spirituals in the fields, whether it was how we braided our hair.
Yeah. Whether it was Kanye making a gospel album.
Well, you know, it went hard. It went hard. I ain't gonna lie. It went hard. And now he's seeing what he has reaped
Right.
and messing
Right.
with whomever he messed with.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Say that.
He reaping some stuff
Say
that,
that.
Yes,
you know,
that's
all that
fair.
shit he was talking is coming
Yep.
back to haunt his ass.
That's fair for a point.
Unfortunately. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
condone some of that stuff, but
That's a
you
fair
know.
point.
Yeah.
I will say that's a very fair point. I would say, but with the Kanye, do you is there a sense of do you I don't know through these practices I'm starting to understand his sense in his own power. I kind of understand it a little more because I can see it in myself. I see it in everybody now, kind of. So I kind of like understand when he calls himself a guy. Like I get it. Like
Yeah.
I kind of understand.
Yeah.
I don't think he's crazy now. Like
I don't either. I think there's many, even the
Some of
people
the
who
things
are
he do is crazy.
attributed with being crazy, right? I think they're just tapping into parts of the brain that we just have no
Can't
idea.
access to.
Right, that's it. And
Yeah.
and because they're living in such a limited society, they don't even know how to process and synthesize what they got going on. So it's like, shit, I got all of this. It's great, but it's about to go wild crazy because I'm in this fucking matrix of a system, right? But yeah, I think Kanye sometimes is so in need of sharing a certain higher self.
his throat chakra is too.
Yeah, like it's way over. Brother, we need to load this.
Is that a whack?
We need
Yeah.
it retracted.
Yeah.
Too old.
Is that a whack?
And
Too
I
old.
think that there are things that he says, and he just blurts them out. And I think he doesn't understand the nuances of how to say something to a people or peoples who have been conditioned a certain way. And there are many leaders who just say it like it is. But like you take Malcolm X, he came out being real forceful, right, in his initial journey, because he was coming out of racketeering and selling drugs. Mind you, doing all of these things to help support his family, but also doing these things because of the area that he was in.
Yeah.
And by family, I mean, it could just be him, right? At that time, he hadn't had children. But as he began to learn himself and then understood his relationship with everyone else, no matter what color they were, and specifically his trip to Mecca, making Hajj, as Muslims do. And when he did that, he then was able to articulate many of the same things, but with certain nuances and understanding for the human nature of who we are. So I think Kanye has not gotten
To
there
that point.
as yet.
I can see that.
And I hope he gets there.
can see
That's the only reason why I have some grace for that brother, because I feel like he is on a very wild journey in a crazier matrix than all leaders that have come before. And generations further down the line will be able to say the same, right? But I think he's really trying to find his footing even within his brilliance. And I think that's what he's struggling with. His shadow is
Thank you. I was
it's
just gonna
shadow
say
work.
it's just a shadow.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like he's
I can see that.
You know, the shadow is
Yeah.
it's both.
Yeah.
Because that's I'm always like a they always roast me because I'm like a Kanye supporter. but I think it's
Make
because-
America Kanye again.
No.
You're one of them.
No,
okay.
no,
Okay, I got you.
no.
It's okay.
but I think it's because I understand what he's trying to say when I really listen, but I get the point of he does turn a lot of people off because of the way he says certain things, and I think it's a message that he could say it a lot better.
Yeah.
So-
And
And you
people
could
also need
gain
to
more people.
He could. No,
Yeah.
I think he could.
You know
I
what I
think,
mean? To make
yeah,
that change.
I agree.
You know?
And people need to stop idolizing people when it comes down to it. Like, I
fair.
mean,
Man.
stop with the idol worship. Like,
Yes.
hear the message, get what you need from the message, and keep it moving, and acknowledge that this is
Facts.
by way the message came through, because it is not that what I am saying, it's not that I'm correct. I'm not the message. The message is just coming through me. I'm a vessel through which it comes.
Yeah.
Just like Jesus. Jesus was not God,
Yeah.
right? The message came through.
I think people idolize people because they don't realize that they have that capability in themselves. I believe.
For sure. Corey, you quiet.
Yeah.
I'm
He's taking
taking
it.
Taking
He's
it. Yeah, I
in.
can see you're
taking it.
taking it.
He was. I think you were saying you didn't really know much
I don't
about
know
it,
anything
right?
about this at all, so I'm just,
Well, now that we like
Yeah.
had this,
Mhm.
do you have a better understanding? Like what did you gain from?
I mean, when I heard the third eye, I'm like, damn, Illuminati on a different level than what I thought.
That's real. I mean, that's fair.
But no, that's honestly what people go to when they think about it.
They do. They do.
That's the third eye. That's all I thought about. Like, well, I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
And then
They got powers.
Fuck it. Shit, I'm about to take it on. Shit.
like I
I'm
said,
about to start my own church, everybody. Illuminati MJ.
I mean, anytime I hear something new, I always, like she said, you try to relate it to
something in your
something
life.
the person knows.
I feel that.
Yeah.
But the Avatar thing is spot on.
But
Because
that was a really good.
I was watching this shit, and I'm like, man, these niggas getting deep. Like, I know it's Nickelodeon shit, and I'm only 16, but like, they tough. I like,
Hey,
I
the
like-
kid shows be having some gems in it. If
Yeah.
you really like.
Same thing with
Oh,
Disney.
yeah.
Same thing with Disney.
Because how do you get adults to be, into it? You got to put some things that are relative to who we are
Yeah.
in there so we can latch on, right?
That's true.
It's definitely something to look into. I don't like. It's just something to look into. I'm not gonna say I'm not converted, but I'm not gonna say I'm like about to start doing it tomorrow. But
Right.
it,
Still be aware of it.
I could be
Yeah.
aware of it, and now I can hold my own. If somebody
Maybe you
brings
can
it
put
up.
a thing on that thing where you didn't realize what was going on. It was like, oh, that was the energy. Like maybe my chakra was fucked
Yeah.
up, or maybe I wasn't paying attention to what I needed to pay attention to.
And you don't even necessarily need to say that it's
Yeah.
a chakra, right? You can just acknowledge that where you feel it,
It's because it's certain.
and just just acknowledge that if you feel something in your chest, it may be okay to ask yourself, like, why am I feeling it so heavy in my chest? Maybe this decision I think I should make, that really like just tight feeling in my chest is letting me know to wait.
Right.
right? It's just signals in the body. And if that helps you to better understand, then I think it's really, it's kind of like there's different names for God, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it is God. And some people don't get that.
The
If
umbrella.
somebody says Allah, that is God. That's it. Like that's it. Now, the path by which people get there is different from maybe their brothers and sisters, but that's what that means.
Yeah.
So I think if the word chakra doesn't resonate with you, it's okay to just be like, I feel this tightness in my chest.
Yeah.
Or I feel this tightness in my head. You know, why do I keep getting headaches in the front of my head more so than any other place? And it could just be your body telling you you need to look deeper into yourself past what you can see and touch, right?
I feel that.
I would say the feeling stuff that resonated too, like what Khalil was saying, like with when you said like at one point you might have like lost the confidence in yourself, like the pit and all like that kind of stuff, or even like during relationships, like if somebody, like you can tell somebody's mad at you or something, but you got that feeling in you,
Or like if you're
know what I'm
nervous,
saying?
if you're nervous
or
for
if you're
something,
nervous,
you had that pit in your stomach,
right?
You know what I mean?
You know,
Yeah.
stuff
So-
like that.
Connect with that. Find ways of, I think there's so many things out there and we think this is the only way. And I think it's okay to say, at least from my perspective, there are many paths to God, right? And you have to find the one that's going to lead you to truth. And it's the same way with, there are many paths to yourself, but you have to find the one that's going to lead to the truest self.
Right.
That's perfect.
Enough said.
You
That's
got
it.
it.
That's it. Before we end it, I want to ask: is there any? You had came up with a good idea. Is there any like books or things you want to tell the people about to get them started in this world?
That's a good question. I'd say, like, and this sounds so silly, but like, get on places like YouTube, get on Instagram. Like, there's so much information out there, and reach out to whoever posts it or someone within your circle, because I'm sure there's somebody, even if there's, you know, a practitioner like myself and you want more knowledge, like, just ask the questions. For me, you know what book, and it's not necessarily about the chakras, but it's leading back to self, which I think all energy work should do in theory, is The Alchemist.
I told you.
Boom, and I just dropped the mic.
It's gonna be right.
If you haven't read The Alchemist, you
Right.
better get on it, because when I
really
tell
do
you
need
it is
to
a
read The
journey,
Alchemist.
you
It's a
have
good
got
book.
to read it.
But before you got here,
No, he said that.
I said that you would
He
say
said
that.
He called it.
Called
The
it.
energy.
I knew he was gonna be right.
Telling
When
you.
she paused, I was like, he's about to be right.
That's
Yes,
crazy.
that
Full
book.
circle.
That book will lead you back to yourself, and it's a book that I have read several times.
Okay.
Each time, I find something new,
Oh wow.
and I find something that resonates with where I am at that point in my life. I kid you not.
Only if you're ready.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. Only if you're ready.
Cause it might tell you to stop buying J's, and nigga, you gotta stop buying.
Sick of this shit. I'm burning all these fucking pages.
buying J's.
But yeah,
For sure. Well, yeah, y'all. Y'all got anything else y'all want to bring to the table? Or you have any takeaways?
You know what? Thank you once again for having me in this space with you. I hope that whatever you decide to do, that there is something, even if it's just a morsel, that you took from anything that I said, and that it ultimately encourages you to be in better relationship with yourself.
Perfect ending.
Perfect ending.
Perfect ending.
Nah, I ain't got nothing.
Fuck you. You speak Spanish. You know, like, talking about this shit. Fuck that shit.
I want to thank Miss Mica Job again for joining us on this episode of Possibly Impaired.
Thank you.
Until next week, we'll see y'all. Love y'all, brothers.
Love you too, man.
What's on with y'all?
Peace.
Good vibes.